What is up, guys? I wanted to hop on here really quickly because bittensor is evolving so fast and we have two new fresh sections on the subnet metagraph that are extremely important to understand and actually know how to interpret in terms of subnet prices, finding alpha, understanding if a subnet is temporarily undervalued or overvalued. These are super important concepts that I want to explain to you guys so you can find much more alpha in the coming weeks. Let's get to it. Okay, so first off, if you do not know what TaoFlow is, I highly suggest go watch this video right here. I did my best to actually simplify what were bittensor emissions before and after with this new major update. But in one sentence, TaoFlow determines Tao in. It is basically a plus or minus of how many people staked or unstaked to that subnet calculated every block, divided by the sum of the same calculation across all subnets. It's super simple and it gives us a basic percentage like 5, 6, 7, or 10%. But if you look closely on the subnet metagraph, there's a new section called Daily Chain Buys. So just by the text, you can see that it represents some kind of on-chain buying pressure for that subnet. But let's see what it means under the hood. So as an example, let's say this is Schutz' price. And on the subnet metagraph, you see that their emissions are about 10%. We're using hypothetical numbers. So 10% means that the Tao in every block for Schutz is at 0.1 Tao per block in its subnet liquidity pool. So to get the alpha in, which is the other side of the liquidity pool, you need to divide Tao in by the alpha price. So 0.1 divided by 0.08. But Yuma consensus allows the chain to emit only one alpha in maximum per block. But if you divide those two numbers, it gives us 1.14, which is too much. So you have to work backwards and you need to divide Tao in by the alpha price for it to be equal to 1. So logically, Tao in must be the same price as alpha price for it to be equal to 1. For this division to stay true. So obviously Tao in must be the same as the price, which is 0.0872. And with TaoFlow, this now gives us something called Tao excess. So when you subtract the two, you get this number right here, which is the Tao excess per block. And there's 7,200 blocks per day, which gives us a daily chain buy of 92 Tao per day, guys. So your interpretation at the bottom, you can see that if price is under the emissions, Yuma will buy it until alpha in is equal to 1, and this helps sustain the price temporarily. And you can find discrepancies in price between emissions. Maybe if you're a subnet trader or things of that nature, it's going to help you out short term if you want to spot undervalued subnets, if there's a panic or something like that. All right, guys, so some extra nuggets. Keep in mind that right now the halving is in like 2 weeks, so the maximum Tao in is 1. So for us to have daily chain buys, the price needs to be under the emissions. But after the halving, so after December 13th, let's say the emissions for Schutz is 10%. The price of Tao needs to go below 0.05 for us to actually have daily chain buybacks if you're an investor for that subnet, because the maximum Tao in changes to 0.5. So the formulas change, obviously. So prices after the halving need to be maybe twice as lower than their emissions or more for us to have daily chain buybacks. It is extremely important you understand this concept if you want to properly interpret prices, discrepancies, undervalued or overvalued subnet prices. All right, guys, so here is the subnet metagraph, and what you need to pay attention to find alpha is right here. The daily, weekly, and monthly flow, and also coupled with the daily chain buys. So at first glance, if you click flow 1 month and you go to the worst one, you're going to see that people are scrambling away from ridges and roots. So this tells you that people are actively looking to invest their Tao into subnets because people are staking out of subnet 0. They're removing their Tao and putting it into alpha tokens. And with ridges, you've seen with the price drop, there were some delays with their product launch. They weren't tweeting as much. Some big whales sold as well. So you can see that people are fleeing away from ridges, which is actually reducing their emissions. I had tweeted about it, but last week, Ridge's emission was actually at 0 because their daily and weekly flow were all negative also with their monthly flow. So they didn't have any emissions to incentivize their buyers. And you can directly see that people maybe overreacted and panicked too much, and they're restarting to jump back into Ridges on the daily and the weekly, and you see the price is creeping back upwards. So guys, you need to be paying attention to the right people on next. So this is Subnet 60's owner. You want alpha on bittensor subnets, sort by high tau net flow and compare that to the emissions ranking and do research to see if it's worth to invest or not, and you're gonna have a good risk reward for it. So if you look at the Subnet meta graph, we can directly see that the subnets that have the highest tau monthly net inflow, you can pair it with their actual price and their emissions to see if there's some undervalued subnets, some price discrepancies. Why are some people buying a certain subnet so much for a month straight, but the price is low? This is something you can start analyzing to find good alpha. So for example, SafeScan, which just got bought by DSV, has had a good TaoFlow for 1 month. And we can see that it jumped 200% just because it was purchased, but you could have spotted that with TaoFlow on the monthly. Another one that I purchased recently, BitAds. It has been making noise. It has recently been restructured, and I think the price is really low if we compare it with its monthly TaoFlow. I think people are secretly starting to stack BitAds subnet, and I think it's going to make a lot of noise soon. Subnet 91 is another one. They are making DDoS protection and firewall products through their miners, and I think their price is really low when you couple it with their daily, weekly, and monthly TaoFlow. So this was an indicator for me to actually add it to my arsenal when it came to analyzing if I was going to buy it or not, and I did. And if you go on daily chain buybacks, you can see that, for example, SafeScan's price is a bit lower than its emission, which results in 55 Tau daily chain buybacks per day, which is actually indicating to you that Yuma Consensus is doing everything in its power to actually reprice it to this number right here, which would be 0.0053. So daily chain buys would be an indicator if you trade subnets actively. And for example, Shoots, let's say tomorrow Shoots' price goes to 0.04. You are going to know that Yuma Consensus will do everything in its power to pick alpha tokens from its liquidity pool, add Tau in the liquidity pool to jump the price back up to 0.08. So this is something you can use if you're trading or even holding subnets to spot undervalued or overvalued subnets. And obviously, if the price is over the emissions like for ridges, you aren't going to get any daily chain buybacks. Right now, Yuma Consensus much more prefers subnets that have a high net Tau inflow. This indicates to you that Yuma Consensus will actually reward subnets that actually get stakers on board to give up their Tau for the subnet's alpha token. I found this tweet and I think my subnet strategy is pretty much the same. Don't marry your bags. Don't fall in love with any subnet if you 2, 3, 4, or 5x. At some point, guys, I was at a 10x with Bitcast, but I fell in love with it and it fell to 5x. So this is something I'm actively learning. Pay attention to the ecosystem because it is very event driven. That's why I'm building these bittensor alpha tools to give us the proper alerts for us to invest and actually be decisive, which is his point number 3, because I rather be fast and decisive than just sit on the sidelines and not make any life-changing money. And most importantly, guys, if you have a 2, 3, 4, or 5, or even 10 or 100x, make sure to take profit because greed is endless and subnets are so new. Nobody knows what is actually going to happen. Even the developers or the bittensor founders have no idea where price is going to go. So that was it. I hope you learned something. I really plan to add daily chain buys and flow to my daily subnet analyses. Right now, I'm very happy that I purchased Subnet 91 Tensor Procs and BitAds Subnet 16 because they all have very good daily, weekly, and monthly flows compared to their actual price. If you see their price, they're much more cheaper than their competitors that have a similar Tau flow, which is pretty interesting for me because I'm looking for low priced subnets for me to buy into. That is my current trading strategy. I personally have never purchased Shoots or Ridges or Templar or things of that nature. I look at subnets before they hit crypto Twitter, before everything blows up and people talk about it like it's the next big thing. Because on this channel, we're here to make life-changing money. We're here to be trendsetters and, make a difference with our capital. That's what it's all about. So hope you've enjoyed this and happy subnet hunting.